Shohei Ohtani has had an iconic season. He has hit 50 plus home runs, and I believe he's going to hit more. So, with that said, in this video, I'm going to share with you how he's hitting these home runs. And if you do exactly what I'm going to share with you today, you'll start hitting more doubles, you'll start hitting more home runs, you'll be ultra confident like Shohei Ohtani, and you'll play to your full potential. So, with that being said, if you don't know who I am, I'm former MLB player Jermaine Curtis, and I help players stand out so they can play on their high school varsity team, get a college scholarship, or even a pro contract. So, with that being said, now let's dive into the content. So, the first thing we need to do is we need to have a strategy. See, a lot of you players have great swings, you have great fundamentals, but you're not having the right strategy, so it doesn't line up. And that's the reason why you're not driving the baseball. All the players you see at the highest level, the pro players, the college players, the MLB players who are dominating, they have a North Star, they have a plan, they have a strategy that they are directing themselves to in the batter's box, and they're always optimizing to it in the cage, off the tee, off of BP. They're relentlessly repeating this strategy. So the first thing you need is a winning strategy. All right, so what's the strategy? Well, here's the power hitting strategy. This right here is the formula. I'm gonna walk you through each one of these steps. And like I said, if you can just check this off, you check this off right here, and you check this off. If you can do this as a baseball player, you will hit doubles, you will hit home runs, okay? So now let's dive into each one of these. So the first step in the formula is X velocity. Now, we want to increase our X velocity as high as we can. Now, if you're a player that doesn't have high X velocity, you can still drive the ball for extra base hits. And that's the reason why I have the W here, which is weighted. Now, if you want me to make a video to explain how undersized players are driving the baseball, go ahead and comment below, and I will definitely make that video. I can do it on Mookie Betts, or I can do it on Jose Altuve and how they are doing it. But what we need to do, getting back to the topic, is increase the exit velocity as high as we possibly can. Now, you're probably asking yourself, how high do I need to increase my exit velocity? Well, let me show you. So here's a cheat sheet I created, and basically what this is how hard you should be hitting the baseball at your given age. So if you want to hit doubles and you want to hit home runs, I would recommend you to go down below and download this. And I'll also recommend that you get yourself a pocket radar. It's the most accurate radar gun in my opinion, and I use it to track all my hitters' numbers. And so I would advise you to do that same. If you're interested in that, link is below as well, so you can get a discount. So you'll see here, over here in the orange, you'll see this is the projected results if you can get your numbers up here. So if you get your numbers to home runs, if you're trying to hit home runs, you want to get your numbers up to the elite category. If you're trying to hit doubles, you want to get your numbers up to above average. And if you're average, this is why you're hitting singles and you're not being able to hit doubles. So this is a good place to start. And like I said, I recommend you go down below and get this. Now, to bring this back to Shohei Ohtani, as you can see here, his exit velocity is at 95.6, which is second in the MLB. And there's only one other person that is hitting the ball harder than him, and that is Aaron Judge. And Aaron Judge has 53 home runs, and Shohei Ohtani has 51 home runs. So if you can increase your exit velocity to the elite level, you'll be able to stand out. Now, you're probably asking yourself, well, Jermaine, right underneath him, O'Neal Cruz is hitting just as hard as Shohei Ohtani, but he doesn't have nearly as many home runs. Well, that's because O'Neal Cruz is not doing step number 2, which is LD plus FB. And that stands for hitting line drives and hitting fly balls. And to give you an example of Shohei Ohtani here, he is at 34.5% for this year, which is his lowest in all the years he's been playing in the MLB. And you can see also here, his fly ball percentage is at one of the highest. In 2021, he had a 34.6 fly ball rate. And then you can see here, his line drive percentage as well is super high compared to his other years. So that right there is the recipe. We want to hit more line drives and fly balls, and we want to decrease our ground ball rate. And if we hit more line drives and fly balls, we're going to allow ourselves to be able to hit more doubles, triples, and home runs, extra base hits. And if we flip to Oneil Cruz, you'll see that he is nearly hitting the ball at 47.7%. So basically 50% of his hits are on the ground. And then you'll see here, he has 20% fly ball rate. So he's not hitting the ball in the air as much as, you know, Shohei Ohtani, and then he's hitting the ball at 26% line drive. So he's hitting the ball as many line drives as Shohei Ohtani, but he's hitting significantly more ground balls than Shohei Ohtani. Now, if Oneil Cruz hits more fly balls and decreases his ground ball rate, he will start hitting a lot of home runs. And that's what they project with him, that he'll be able to start doing that. I think a few mechanical changes and he will be able to do that. Now, that's another video on him, but let's talk about the mechanics of Shohei Ohtani, because there's some things that he's doing that's allowing him to hit more line drives and hit more fly balls than Oneil Cruz. Now, the first place we want to start is the lower half. The lower half is like the foundation of a home. If the foundation is unstable, then the home comes crashing down. In other words, if your lower half is not in a good place, if you don't have a good foundation, a good base, as Barry Bonds would say, then your swing doesn't even matter, because you're not going to be able to hit line drives or fly balls so you can hit extra base hits. So we want to start with the lower half, and the lower half framework that I go off of and what I teach my hitters is the Coil framework. Now, this video is not allowing me to really go into the angles that I want, so I'm gonna bring up another video of Shohei Ohtani and his swing, that we can dive a little deeper into each one of those steps. Now, the first step in the framework is coil and load. And what we're trying to do here is we're trying to properly load and create energy. When it comes to power, when it comes to hitting, what we're doing is we're creating energy and we're going to distribute it into the baseball. So we need to properly load, especially with our lower half. So as you can see here, what we want to do is load into that back hip, okay? And you can see how he's loading into that back hip, okay? And you can also see him coiling. And as my mentor, Hall of Famer Dusty Baker would say, is that you want to show your back pocket towards the pitcher. Now, let me bring that video back and show you he does do this. See here, as he starts to coil, you can see he's showing that back pocket towards the pitcher. Okay, so he's coiling up and all this energy is going to this back leg, as you see right here. And he's on top of this back leg instead of sitting and then popping out of his lower half. He's on top of it. And the only way you're going to be on top of it if you're sitting into that back hip. Okay, so that is step number one. Step number two is an orchestrated step. Now, I get asked all the time, what is an orchestrated step? To me, and what I describe an orchestrated step is something that you can repeat over and over and over. It's a movement you can control. So for me, I like a mid-leg kick at the highest, or a get your foot down early. You can repeat those. A high leg kick to me is hard to repeat. As you go higher in this game, they're going to start moving the ball. They're going to start adding and subtracting, and it's going to get very hard to repeat your mechanics. And that's the one thing that Shohei Ohtani does very well. He repeats his mechanics over and over and over. You don't ever see him changing his mechanics. It's the same thing over and over, and that's why he gets high level results. So the second step is an orchestrated step. And when you do this, you want to ride your back leg. You can see how he's riding that back leg, okay? And he's keeping that chest over that back leg. And that's what we want. Now, the third step is that we want to initiate the landing position. Now, most people land at 45 degrees here, so it creates a window for their hands to get to the baseball. But he does it. He lands pretty even, and he keeps his chest over his back leg, and that knob is pointing to the catcher. That back elbow is up, and that bat is at 45 degrees, which is what we want. And he's in that power triangle position right here. Power triangle with his head in between, but most of his weight is still on his backside as opposed to his front leg. Now, step four is he launches his back hip. He launches hip into the baseball, and you'll see him pinch the ground with his big toe. Let me pull this over here. You'll see that big toe now is starting to pinch the ground, and he's getting that knee drive into the ground, okay? So that's super important to basically maximize your power, because we're now taking that energy we created and now we're going to start putting it into that front leg. Now, here's the big key in step number 5. As he starts to swing, he really anchors his front foot heel. Now you can see it here. Look at that front foot heel anchors down. And now you see this firm front side here. And so he took all that energy that he created here. Okay. And now it's starting to drift forward. Okay. And he stops his hips because that heel plants into the ground. And all that energy he created is now going into that baseball. And that's why those balls are launched. Okay. And a lot of young baseball players struggle with this. They stay on the ball of their feet, and you see he's on the ball of his feet. And then what happens is that they don't anchor down. They don't get their front foot heel into the ground. And so their hips just keep moving forward, and that causes them to roll over and create an inconsistent swing. But you can see here, he does these steps very nicely. He repeats them over and over, and that's the reason why he's able to get barrel to the ball and hit those line drives and fly balls. By the way, if you want this framework, link is below. So now we go into the swing, and I personally like the catch framework, and that's what I teach my hitters. And basically what the catch framework is, it's what I learned from Barry Bonds. He told me to catch the baseball, and he gave me a lot of drills and tips, and it transformed my game. Now the visual, it looks like a Nike swoosh. Okay. And if we look right here, you can see how the barrel goes back, and then it goes like this Nike swoosh right here. Okay, so that right there is what we're trying to create, a visual representation of it. Now I'm going to walk you through the steps, and if you're interested in this, link is below as well. So the first step in the framework is the C, and what we're doing here is we're charging up. In other words, we're loading. And you can see here as he starts to load, you can see how that back arm gets into a punching position, that knob starts pointing to the catcher, and it works very well with the lower half. Now you can see here as he starts to swing, he starts to align his knob. And so what that is that's the second step in the framework. Okay, you can see this line right here. Okay, he is literally putting that knob on that line. Okay, and that's keeping the barrel and keeping his hands inside of the baseball. You first have to be inside your body before you can get inside the baseball. So I always tell my hitters, think about the knob of this bat being a train, and we're trying to put it on the train tracks right here. And let me pull this back a little bit so you can see this even more. But you can see here as he starts to swing, he starts pulling that knob tight around that shoulder. Okay, and he's putting it on that line right there. Okay, so that is step number 2. Step number 3 is now we want to train the top hand to go to the baseball, and you'll see, the barrel gets even with the ground, which is what we want in step number 2. Now step number 3, we want to take the top hand to the baseball, and you can see how he just goes straight to the baseball to catch it. Okay, and then the next step is that we want to continue through with the firm wrists, and you can see as he gets to the baseball and he's hitting it right now, you can see how he has a firm wrist through the baseball. And then I like to say a high finish. That's the last step in the framework. And you can see here as he extends through the baseball, you can see that high finish, giving himself a pat on the back over his shoulder, just like you see right there. Now, if you do both the coils and the catch framework, you're going to hit more line drives and hit more fly balls. Now, here's the thing. You can hit more line drives and fly balls by doing this, but you need to do the next step so that everything comes together. Okay. And if you're not doing the next step, then that's the reason why you're not hitting more doubles and home runs. And if we look right here at Shohei Ohtani stats, you see that 42.8% of the time he's hitting it pull side, 32.5% of the time he's hitting it straight up the middle, and 24.7% of the time he's hitting the oppos. So mostly he's hitting the ball now more pull side. He's hitting the ball in the air more, and that is allowing him to hit more doubles and home runs. So now let's dive into what he's doing. So if you look right here to the left, you'll see 4 little quadrants, and I call this the 4 core quadrant. And you'll see I'm gonna take you through this right now. So if you look on this side, you'll see this is basically Shohei Ohtani's heat map. So this is all the places he's driving the baseball. Most of the time it's right over the middle of the plate, which makes sense, right? You get, history was created over the middle of the plate. But what he's done very well is that he doesn't swing at the pitches that's on the edges, and he forces the pitcher to throw more middle. And since he's able to lay off those tough pitches and anything that's in the zone, because his mechanics are so repeatable, it's allowed him to really drive these pitches for extra base hits. And so what you want to do is you want to know your hot and cold zones. You want to know where is the pitches that you do, the most damage. And Shohei Ohtani, he really doesn't like the pitch inside. So what he does is he lays off these pitches, right? This is his cold zones. You can see anything inside. This is the left-hander's batter viewpoint. So everything over here, he isn't doing well with. So he stays away from this pitch. He didn't even swing at it. And he gets the pitcher to start throwing more over here. So how do we use this to our advantage? How do we learn our hot and cold zones? Well, the first thing we want to do is we want to study what pitches give us the result of hitting the ball middle and pull side. Okay, so we're going to use data for our advantage. So when you're hitting off the tee, when you're hitting front toss, when you're hitting batting practice, when you're hitting in the game, start to jot down and remember where those pitches were so you can have an idea of where your hot and cold zones are. As a player, as you keep going older, you're going to start to know where your strengths and weaknesses are. And we need to know that so that we're able to play to our strengths and work around our weaknesses. So we're going to study those pitches off a tee, off a front toss. We're going to study where are we driving the baseball in the air for line drives and fly balls to middle and pull side. We want the ones when we hit it, we want those balls to travel. And we want to just remember that. A lot of players take swings, but they're not remembering where the pitch is, where the location. So they never, basically evolve as a hitter. We need to evolve. So that's the first step. The second step is that after we start knowing where our hot zones are, and this example, Shohei Ohtani likes this pitch a little bit middle, a little bit low, okay, mid to low. So we're going to start strategizing, looking for that pitch, okay? So I can guarantee you, he is splitting the plate in half. So if the plate is right here and this is the outside corner and this is the inside corner, he's splitting the plate in half and he's looking for a pitch out over here in the middle of the plate to the outer third of the plate. And so that's how you maximize your ability to drive the baseball. You split the plate in half. It's hard to hit the whole plate. And a lot of you are doing that. You guys are just going up there, seeing a pitch and hit it, and you're wasting a bats. This is how you maximize your bats, because you split the plate in half. You look for a specific zone, and that when that ball gets into that zone, you annihilate it. Okay. Now, the next part of the framework, the core quadrant, is the strike part of it. So we now know what we're looking for. We're strategizing. We're looking for this pitch in this location. And now when the pitcher comes, we strike it, we hammer it, we annihilate it, as I talked about earlier. And then the last step is scuffle. There's going to be times where you're just going to swing and miss. Okay. It's part of the game. It's baseball. So what we're doing here is we're not giving in. We're going to scuffle. We're going to fight. Okay. And that's one thing Shohei Ohtani does really well. He never gives in. He thinks he's the best. And for that reason, he is the best. If you don't think you're the best, then no one else will think you're the best. So that's the one thing that Shohei Ohtani does really well, is that he does all these steps. He has the high exit velocity. He hits line drives and fly balls. He doesn't hit many ground balls. And then he hits the ball to middle and pull side. So if you do these steps, you will hit doubles and home runs. And I can confirm this because this is what I teach my players. And to give you an example of this, here are a few players that did this and hit some home runs. Tell me before, what type of hitter were you? And then when we started working together, what changes we made?
So before, in my sophomore and freshman seasons, I was just like a grounder up the middle, grounder through the 4-hole, just totally pull side, couldn't take anything off of. And now, like after hitting with Jermaine, I've just expanded to like a complete hitter to where I can hit on all sides of the field, and I have power to all sides of the field. I've been hitting doubles, triples to left center gap as a lefty, and now in my last few tournaments, I've been able to pull the ball over the fence to right field.
So talk about your home run, your first home your first ever home run. Congratulations, by the way.
So the first ever home run came in a PBR tournament up in Kentucky, and what happened was it was a tie game, 3-3 in the bottom of the 6th inning, and I just let a fastball travel into the zone, got my hands to it, kept my hands inside, and I was able to hit it off the scoreboard to right field.
And
so I mean, it was just a super cool experience. Generated a lot of power in my legs, and it was like the work had paid off type of moment.
so tell me, how'd you feel when you seen the ball go out of the park or hit the stadium? Tell me how you felt when you were running the bases. Give me that rundown. Like, what'd your dad say to you after? Your mom? I know your dad loves watching you play, so give me that. Tell me about that.
It was like, it was pretty crazy. I mean, because I hit the ball, I knew it was gone, but like the crowd didn't. So I was jogging, and right when I hit first base, I just hear everyone kind of erupt, because like you could hear it hit off the scoreboard. All the parents, all the kids, which went crazy on my team. So I just kind of got to soak it all in. Got to see my third base coach, who I've known forever, and it was exhilarating. Like it was hard not to like sprint around the bases. My adrenaline was pumping. I was so excited, and I honestly just wanted another at bat after that. Because now every time I get up to a plate, I'm like, I can hit a home run now.
Now, what about the game? It was 6-6 when you. What was the score? And
it was 3-3 in the bottom of the 6th when I hit it.
So did you guys end up winning?
Yeah, we ended up winning 5-3
from your home run.
Yeah, my 2-run home run put us up, and we ended up winning the game.
How'd that feel?
It was nice. Like after the game, I realized it on the drive back, and I was like, dang. It was surreal.
Did you get to keep your baseball?
Yeah, I actually have it up in my room. Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, I appreciate you for working with me. I'm glad I was able to be a part of your journey. What would you tell people if they're interested in working with me online or working with me in person? Would you recommend me?
Yes.
Now, if you want to take your game to that next level, I'm offering a free live swing breakdown. I'll break down your swing, tell you exactly what you need to do to hit more doubles and more home runs. Link is in the description. Thank you guys for watching. Hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you're new here, and I'll see you in the next video. If you want to know how to hit your first or next home run, this video right here that's popping up on the screen will tell you exactly how in more detail. Thank you.